Let's tell you more about what we know about this big story. On May 15, gunmen brought a nightmare long familiar to northern Nigeria into the southwest. What followed was weeks of silence, false hope, and a killing that hardened the nation's resolve. On Friday, 10th July, the silence broke. And this is the story of how captivity turned to freedom in Oriire State. From captivity to freedom is what we've called it. 39 pupils and 7 teachers for the 6 people in total were taken from 3 schools on the 15th of May. They spent 56 days in captivity before their release today. Security forces arrested 8 suspects, we understand, are now in the custody of the DSS. Quite a number of others were killed during the rescue raid. The interesting development chronicles a long trail of what has happened between attack and rescue. The attack, of course, was coordinated and swift. Gunmen struck 3 schools simultaneously in Oriire local government area of Oriire State: Baptist Nursery and Primary School in Yawota, Primary School in Ahoresele, and Community High School. They moved on motorcycles for rapid extraction, exploiting the rural terrain to funnel their hostages into the forest reserves of the Old Oriire National Park before a defensive response could even form at all. Now, this is the timeline. The ordeal stretched across nearly 2 months. On May 17, captors released footage showing the killing of teacher Michael Oyedokun, and that struck the heart of many Nigerians. By late May, the kidnappers were demanding ₦1 billion. They were asking for vehicles and also the release of detained commanders. The demands also was asking authorities to do much more, but indeed authorities refused. In June, President Tinubu ordered a specialized rescue unit, and the context of this was really to ensure that this rescue operation is done. At the time, we were hearing false release claims repeatedly being circulated. That was debunked. On July 10, we saw the Army, Police, DSS storming the enclave. No ransom paid, no prisoner was exchanged, and tonight Nigerians are excited. The final operation carried the real risk. As you can see on the screen, we hear joint forces first sealed off escape routes around the capital's den. Troops then moved through dense forest foliage under the threat of landmines and hostile gunfire. Throughout the breach, the priority was protecting the 39 children the kidnappers had used as potential human shield. Now, the threat that we are seeing now tells a story of a shift in geography. Since 2014, more than 1,600 school children have been abducted across Nigeria, overwhelmingly in the north. This attack in Oriire signals a deliberate expansion of this threat into the southwest, with armed groups now using forest reserves in previously secure rural communities as new sanctuaries. So what are the lessons we probably have learned tonight? This rescue leaves 3 lessons behind. First is the triumph of intelligence, the fact that sustained joint agency intelligence can really work and can defeat armed syndicates without necessarily paying ransom. It also exposes how urgently isolated rural school districts near forest borders need rapid response security protocols. And Mr. President highlighted that in his message earlier, asking the Oriire State government to do the needful. It's a reminder also that rescue alone is not enough. The financial and organizational networks powering these attacks must be tracked and dismantled if this pattern is to end. Good news, everyone. One thing is certain: we can all go to bed tonight knowing that the Oriire children have been rescued and will live to fight another day. Let's bring in State House correspondent Femi Akonde, who's been monitoring this development from the presidential villa. He joins me live from our Abuja studio. Also joining me is senior reporter Olaido Iwole, live from Oriire State. I'll also be speaking with intelligence and counterterrorism expert Dr. Seyi Adetayo later on in this bulletin. Femi, let me begin with you. How is Aso Rock reacting to this news? What are you hearing?
Well, it's a huge sigh of relief, Nifemi, for the Bola Tinubu administration. You know, they have come under intense pressure since May, when this unfortunate abduction happened. A lot of the issue was seriously politicized because, you know, we are already in the political season. Political opponents of the administration were already using that to lash out at the administration of President Bola Tinubu. We also saw comments coming from the presidential candidate of the NDC, Peter Obi, talking about President Bola Tinubu not calling Seyi Makinde. You know, people are coming back for him, saying, well, the issue now is not about calling Seyi Makinde or Seyi Makinde calling President Bola Tinubu. It is if the administration is actually working to ensure the safe release of these people abducted in Oriire local government. Well, for us in the presidential villa, you know, we started getting signals as of yesterday, even though it was not clear when we saw President Bola Tinubu meet with his security chiefs. It didn't appear as if that meeting was planned, but, you know, from what has happened today, we have been able to connect the dots to, you know, assume or safely assume that he was being briefed yesterday about this operation. We also do not know exactly when these children were released. It could have been yesterday, it could have been in the early hours of the morning. We do not know the exact time, but, you know, we know that briefing was given to President Bola Tinubu yesterday when he met with service chiefs. It was a 2-hour-long meeting, and well, we are seeing the outcome now, and, you know, it's a good one. And this is they say it's a very coordinated and strategic rescue operation carried out by Nigeria's military in recent times, and, you know, it also speaks or gives credence to President Bola Tinubu's approach, you know, in tackling security and other matters that would ensure the safety of lives and property in Nigeria.
Hold that thought, Femi. Let's turn to Ibadan, where Olaide is standing by. Have you heard anything from the state government yet, Olaide? And precisely when are we expecting the rescued children and their teachers to meet with Mr. Governor?
Oh, okay. So, Nifem, it's been congratulations upon congratulations to the governor of Oyo State. State government officials have been sending congratulatory messages to the governor, congratulating him for his efforts in collaborating with the state and with the federal government to rescue this abducted victim. So, a couple of minutes ago, we were supposed to be, briefed about some things about it, and then the governor was supposed to receive these rescued victims, but for some reasons we were told that the briefing will no longer happen and that the governor will no longer receive the rescued victims. So that if they are going to brief us tomorrow, and the time of briefing will also be communicated to us. So so far in Oyo State, it's been a very joyful mood for everyone across the state, both from the citizens, from residents, and from top government officials. So we are expecting that they give us the actual time of briefing tomorrow, so that, or perhaps the time that the governor is going to meet these rescued victims, and so that we can be able to know what next from there.
So, Mr. Governor won't be receiving them today, but can you tell where they are? Are they still in Oyo State, Olaide?
Of course, from the videos we've been seeing around, so we saw some videos tonight, like the one we just saw on the screen today, that they're actually in town. So, but we do not know if the specific place that they are right now, but we know that they are in town, they are in Oyo State, and we don't even know if they are going to be lodged in a hotel here in Ibadan. We don't know that. There is no information regarding that. So the actual time of briefing will also be communicated to us before tomorrow comes. So if the government, whenever the government is going to receive them, of course, we are going to ensure that this details is given, and then we keep the entire audience abreast of all these updates.
Gentlemen, stay on the line. Let's get some expert opinion in here. I'm joined by Seyi Adetayo, who is former DSS operative. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 10. This operation lasted for 56 days, ended without ransom payment, without prisoner exchange. From your understanding of how it works, what does that tell you about the quality of intelligence that we had to come up with and eventually develop before this final rescue?
I think we need to first have an understanding of the background. So sometime last year, precisely May, 9th of May, one of the top Al-Qaeda affiliates known as Ansaro leaders was arrested by the DSS. His name is Abu Bara, but his real name is Abbas Mukhtar, popularly known as Abu Bara, was arrested. And the second one, who happens to be the main leader, which is popularly known as Mahmouda, whose name is Abubakar Abba, was arrested 27th of July by the DSS last year. So these were top leadership of the Ansar group and affiliate of the Al-Qaeda, and also wanted by the United States government and the United Kingdom government for terrorist-related attacks. So when they were arrested, the members became desperate to secure the release of their leaders. So several attacks were attempted last year that were foiled by our security forces, especially on the Wawa detention facilities of the Nigerian armed forces. It's highly sensitive detention facilities in Niger State. The attack were foiled, and after that they went quiet and started planning this attack. So this was a carefully planned strategic operation. And the reason behind it was our choice of location and the people was one. They needed a place where an action that can hit the government so hard to force the release of their leader. So they know that the president is from Southwest, so they decided to move the operation down south. And they needed somewhere close to the forest where they can quickly hibernate and then hide the children.
So you don't necessarily agree with the Oyo State governor, who was quoted in the video to have said the abduction happened the next morning after he declared to run for president? No. You don't. Like international terrorist organizations don't have planned operations within a day or 2 days. It can take them up to 6 months. These are professionals, and it's something they've been doing for years. So, secondly, they needed, because the president is from Southwest, they know that if they hit close home, then it will affect him politically, it will put pressure on him. Then two, they also realize that the home of media in Nigeria is the Southwest. So it will generate, a very serious media hype, and it can easily go international. Hold that thought for a minute. Seyi Adetayo is live here with me in our Lagos studio. Olaide is standing by in Ibadan. Femi is live in our Abuja studio. We're due for a commercial break, and we'll be back with this breaking story. Don't go away. We're back to the coverage of the breaking news from Oyo State, where we're monitoring developments with the rescue of all abducted children and teachers from the Oriire community. I'm joined by Femi Akonde live in our Abuja studio. Olaide Oyewole is live in Ibadan. Right here with me in the studio is former DSS operative Seyi Adetayo. Gentlemen, thank you so much for staying the course on this coverage. Mr. Adetayo, let's build up on the background you just gave us. Authorities are saying now that the kidnappers demanded the release of one of their kingpins who is currently facing prosecution, but government refused. How significant is that decision from a national security perspective?
So we're talking about leaders of international terrorist organizations. You don't just release people like that. And it's also going to affect us, within the committees of nations in terms of our approach, cooperations and the rest in terms of intelligence that we share on terrorism globally. And this is something that we need to commend this government for, and that is their resolve to say we're not going to negotiate. This is non-negotiable. What you're asking for is a no-no. And when you say it's a no-no, it means that the only option is to rescue. And we're talking about kids of 2, 4 years old, of age, involved here. It's not an operation that you can just, go gun ablaze and then enter the forest and start shooting. So it requires careful, operational plans. And if you look at what has happened here, the operation involved the DSS, the special operations squad of the Nigerian Navy, that is the Nigerian equivalent of the U.S. SEAL, Naval SEAL. We have the special squad from the Nigerian Air Force, the special squad for the Defense Intelligence, the best of the best from the Nigerian Police, and even from the Office of the National Security Advisors were involved in this operation. And what they did was, the use of technology, use of intelligence to be able to identified those that are involved, which, DSS already had some information about them prior to that time, and they began to identify associates of those people, their mothers, their children, their wives, people close to them, and they began to, they spread their dragnet across, the northern part of Nigeria, from Kwara State to Niger to Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, Gombe, all the way to Adamawa, Borno State. They began to arrest family members, associates of these people. So what they did was that they did the video and sent the video back to them. Now, okay, we've seen the one you killed. If you kill anyone, we also kill your own family member. So if you want to negotiate, see,
they were able to trace the family members.
Family members, everyone close to them. Government security forces picked everyone.
So all the while there was a line of communication between government.
Of course, and governments, were so strategic, in the operation that they, did not relent.
Were they still in Oyo State at the time of rescue?
Yeah, they were still in the forest. So there was this quick response from the Nigerian, defense forces, Nigerian security forces, to, encircle them before they could move them from Oyo Forest to the Kanji Forest, which is actually their base, and that would be very difficult. If you compare this with to Chibok girls, the response was very slow, and before the government could respond, they've already shared those children, so it became very difficult. Learning from that, the security agencies this time around, the team did not waste time. They were able to launch operations immediately, cover the entire forest, the forest area, and they began to close in on them to ensure that there is no escape route. They cut off supply, cut off communication, cut off everything. And they only release communication when they want to communicate with them and let them understand that there is no two-way out of this.
Just for clarity, Mr. Adetayo, because we're the closest to the DSS we have tonight, 46 people were reportedly abducted. Do you have the specific number of the people rescued?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
46 was the number reported.
36, okay.
46,
46, yeah.
Rather, was the number reported as abducted, 2 months ago. Do you have the precise number of those rescued tonight?
The information available is that all except the one that was killed.
Except one person that was beheaded.
That was killed.
Let's get back to Abuja. Femi Akonde is standing by. One thing is certain, Femi, we're not going to hear from the Oyo State governor tonight. We're looking forward to a press statement. It was reported that he would receive the released victims, but Oriire is saying that's not going to happen tonight, and we'll probably have to wait till tomorrow before we can hear from the Oyo State governor. What do you know? What more do you know about the collaboration between the federal and the state government all this while as regards this abduction?
Well, it was stated clearly in that statement signed by Bayo Ononuga, the president's spokesman, thanking the Oyo State government for their collaboration all through the process, despite previous or earlier attempts to politicize these and claim that it's because of the governor's intention to contest for the office of the president. But that collaboration was going on the ground, and at the end now we're seeing the result, we're seeing the outcome. Even earlier statements credited to the governor of Oyo State, he particularly thanked President Bola Tinubu for his effort, because, this is a rare mass rescue situation, unlike others mass abduction of school students where ransom was paid. We're hearing that in this particular case, ransom was not paid, and it puts the government in a position of strength and also sends a strong message to these bandits and terrorists across the country that moving forward in situations like this, the government will no longer negotiate, but will use lethal force in rescuing these abductees and also neutralizing all threats.
Oriire, quickly, we saw a sustained protest in Ibadan following this abduction. Walk us through the mood tonight in the state capital.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that it's been celebration galore across streets and major roads in Oyo State. From the video you saw on the last time that was played, that is the same kind of mood that we have here. And I also said that top government officials here in Oyo State are also in jubilation mood. They all gathered here earlier today at the private residence of the Oyo State governor, and I could see the level of joy, the level of happiness in their faces, congratulating themselves that at least they can have a sound sleep throughout their night now. So it's been celebration galore from both residents, citizens, and top government officials. So I mentioned that we are expecting the governor to brief us tomorrow on what could probably happen. Brief us tomorrow
Indeed.
about what the next steps they are going to take concerning this rescue effort. So also, there's a likelihood that we get to Oriire tomorrow to also get the mood of the people across that community and from the parents of the abducted children, and then to the family members and all of that. So all of these things, we get them tomorrow and get it across to the people to see how happy the people are.
Olaide Oyewole live for us in Oyo Femakode in Abuja. Gentlemen, thank you for your insight on the news tonight. All right, Mr. Adetayo, before we go, Dr. Adetayo, let us look at, for instance, now one thing is certain, that we can have abducted people rescued without paying ransom. That is one thing this operation is telling Nigerians.
That's a very good development.
But beyond celebrating the rescue, what should happen in the next few weeks that will convince Nigerians that that wasn't just one successful operation, but the beginning of dismantling the entire kidnapping infrastructure behind attacks like this one?
It's actually not the first one. There have been cases like that in Kogi State. Those involved arrested, their family members arrested, prosecuted by the DSS, and one was sentenced to 40 years imprisonment, one in Katsina sentenced to death by hanging. You know, there have been cases like that, and even in recent time, we've seen cases in Ekiti and some other places where, you know, security forces were able to rescue those abducted, and then they also arrested those involved. So, see, this is a good development, and it also helps to crystallize the position that it's no longer going to be business as usual.
Right.
Kidnapping is no longer a business for young, unemployed people or greedy people to go into, because government will not negotiate and government will come after you. And this also to show that will not only come after you, will come after your family members, because you are putting other people's family in jeopardy. So also come after, you see, there's this Yoruba parlance that says that we use madness to cure madness. I think it's a very good development.
I don't know if you're playing with words, but it's interesting to know that it was popularized in Oyo State, the same place we're talking about. This no ransom payment, you think it's government's new policy?
Well, the word new, I think it has been from the beginning of this administration.
We've never paid ransom in this administration.
Yes, not to negotiate or pay ransom with this administration. I think we're beginning to see it manifesting now, crystallizing. And this is the biggest so far in terms of incident since the commencement or the beginning of this administration. And we've seen the way it was handled. Look at it. We have children involved. Government could easily panic and say, we can't rescue children. You know, there can be, you know, friendly fire, stray bullet, and they'll be killed, and they want to. But government said, no, even if they're going to be children, we'll adopt operational measures and we'll still get them out. Someone tried to give example of, America tried to rescue their own people in Niger, and they went there, gun ablaze within 2 days. I said, that is wrong. The man in question is a security asset, an intelligence asset that America cannot afford to put in the hands of international terrorists. The man is not a civilian. So he's a trained person, already trained for such operation. So America can go gun ablaze within 24 hours, knowing fully well that the man on ground knows what to do when his team are on ground. But we're talking of children who wouldn't be able to respond. In fact, you know, there have been suggestions that, they can use gas, chemicals, and the rest. And the issue here is that how many of those children can survive such, you know, gaseous, you know, discharge or exposure in that area? So I think this is the best so far, and I think we need to celebrate our security agencies. And I need to add this, that we need to put those who lost their lives in the course of this rescue. In our prayers, a policeman was killed. Some soldiers also stepped on mines and they died in the process, because those people rigged the environment with mines. We're not talking about bandits here. These were international terrorist organization operating globally. And they didn't come for tea party. They meant business, and the government has been able to show that even Al-Qaeda, we can deal with you.
So we lost policemen?
Yeah, we lost a policeman and soldiers, yeah.
But we killed 8 of the terrorists? All right.
No, we arrested 8 and neutralized others, and none escaped. None of them escaped.
We don't have the number of those neutralized yet?
Yeah, full information will be out.
Security expert, former DSS operative, Dr. Sheyi Adetayo, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much.